Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If sign-in system in High School DxD. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name in the description below. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 151, Purple Gold Mission, The Great Red. Michael still wore his kind smile, offering me heartfelt blessings. Ah, Kyoya, you've got quite the luck with the ladies, Odin remarked meaningfully. Towards the old geezer's teasing, I curled my lip and shot Odin a look. Well, Valley, was your Cows Brigade involved in this attack again? Suddenly, Azazel looked directly at the White Dragon Emperor Valley, a hint of worry in his voice. After all, as Vala's adoptive father, he didn't want his foster son involved in this attack. Hearing this, everyone present, including Odin and Surzex, turned their gazes towards Vala's group, waiting for their answer. Valley, feeling everyone's eyes on him, spoke calmly. Don't misunderstand. Ophis and I have no interest in world domination. As for this attack, it was just those old Satan faction members acting on their own. Our purpose in coming here, besides seeing Habari Kyoya, is also to make use of the sacred gear dimension Lost, and Beelzebub's separate dimensional space, to meet with Great Red. I've said it before, I only want to challenge the strong. Ophis just wants to return to her place of tranquility. Those other people merely covet Ophis's power. Hearing Vala's words, Surzex and the others were somewhat surprised, looking at Ophis with astonishment. So that's how it is. Does this mean the Cows Brigade is actually divided into different factions, and Ophis is merely the source of their power? But now, Ophis has been abducted by Kyoya. Does that mean the Cows Brigade will just disband? Roar! Just as everyone was lost in thought, a heavy dragon's roar suddenly echoed. Immediately, a section of the dark red sky shattered like glass, forming a black hole. A terrifying pressure descended, causing even the sky of the underworld to dim. Everyone looked up towards the sky, their eyes wide, staring in disbelief as a red colossal dragon flew out from the black hole. Its body was entirely crimson red, its scales shimmering with a reddish-gold luster, almost completely covering its back, giving off an impression of indestructibility. A single, curved, sharp crimson horn protruded from its head. Its golden, vertical pupils radiated a majestic light. Its claws were incredibly sharp, and the dragon might emanating from its scale-covered tail was terrifyingly powerful. Most eye-catching were the four massive crimson wings that seemed to blot out the sky. Even from afar, one could feel the majesty and power radiating from the Great Red, inspiring awe and fear. Hey, isn't this thing a bit too big? Is this the Great Red? So strong, even stronger than my lord. Worthy of being called Great Red. Even powerhouses like Surzex and the others couldn't help but feel the highest level of reverence at this moment. As the Red Dragon recorded in the Book of Revelation, the Great Red, whose true name was Great Red, was known as the true dragon's Great Red, born from illusory fantasies. This was the first time they had seen such a legendary existence in person. Even from a great distance, the shockwaves radiating from it distorted the very air of the underworld. Watching this, Surzex, Odin, and the others felt their hearts pound with fear, cold sweat dripping down their backs. Its strength far surpassed everyone present, it was an existence beyond their imagination. And yet, even a being as powerful as the Great Red would be easily beheaded by an evil god from another world in the future. Thinking of this, everyone paled in horror. We're fortunate to have Kyoya here. Otherwise, this world would likely be unable to withstand the invasion from another world. Great Red, long time no see. Just then, Ophis beside me suddenly spoke up. Saying this, she raised her right hand towards Great Red, forming a pistol gesture, and made a shooting motion. One day, I will reclaim my tranquility. Witnessing this scene, I felt helpless. The cute dragon's desire to go home was quite strong. What's so good about returning to the dimensional gap? Alone and lonely. It seems I still need to work hard to change the cute dragon's mind. Looking up at the Great Red soaring in the sky, I couldn't help but marvel at its power. Sign-in character, True Red Dragon God Emperor, Task Grade, Gold, Task Condition, Defeat. Although it's gold, it hints at a touch of purple. Should probably call it a mixed purple-gold sign-in. As expected of the strongest dragon in the DxD world. In terms of strength classification, it should be approaching the 3-digit level. If I don't use the Azure Dragon's power, I might not actually be a match for the Great Red. Perhaps the Mystic Eyes of Death Perception would still work, but Great Red is the guardian of the DxD world. I can't just kill it to complete the task. Although I could defeat Great Red at any time, now is definitely not the time. Otherwise, if the cute dragon Ophis returns to the dimensional gap, wouldn't all my efforts be wasted? It's better to wait until Ophis is completely infatuated with me, in love with the lively human world, before defeating Great Red. Great Red's figure only appeared for a moment before returning to the dimensional gap. After all, Great Red was too powerful. Even with Mao Beelzebub's alternate dimension barrier and the dimension lost sacred gear, it couldn't prevent the destruction it could wreak upon the real world. Finally, this farce came to an end. Upon returning to the palace, Rias and the other girls looked at me, their expressions quite intriguing. I was holding the cute dragon Ophis in one hand and LeFay Pendragon in the other, looking quite content. As for why LeFay was with me? Naturally, I rescued her. No, it was Valley, repaying my earlier favor, who gave her to me. Sigh, Valley really is a good guy. Not only did he send Kuroka, but he even brought Ophis to me. And finally, still worried, he handed LeFay over to me as well. Valley. With the deaths of Shelba, Cruisery, and other heirs of the old Satan faction, and Vala's unwillingness to inherit the name of Mao Lucifer, the old Satan faction officially disbanded. After the underworld dealt with the affairs of the old Satan faction, the raiding game for the new generation of devils began. Undoubtedly, the final battle took place between Rias and Sona Citri. Although Serorg was strong, his peerage couldn't compare to Rias's and Sona's, so he had no choice but to lose the match. Subsequently, after the final match between Rias and Sona began, Sona Citri relied on excellent battle strategies to gradually stabilize the initially disadvantageous situation. But Rias's side possessed overwhelming strength, ultimately securing victory by a narrow margin. Rias and Sona's outstanding performances earned the unanimous recognition of numerous devils. Chapter 152, Samuel the Dragon Eater, Hades asking for trouble. After the raiding game ended, under the arrangement of Rias's parents, I and Rias held an engagement ceremony. However, when I arrived at the engagement venue, I was completely bewildered. There were actually 2 people getting engaged to me this time. After understanding the sequence of events, I couldn't help but laugh and cry at the same time. It turned out that Sona's parents, upon learning of my engagement, had directly pushed Sona forward as well. Ultimately, amidst laughter and blessings from the crowd, the engagement with the 2 devil noble princesses was completed. A short while later, Odin bid a brief farewell to me and the others, stating he needed to return to the north first. Since the engagement, I had also been continuously strengthening my relationships with Ophis and the other girls. For a time, my relationship with the girls rapidly warmed up, and the harem was in a state of harmony. Lord Kyoya, excuse the interruption. Sitting on the throne in the main hall, I was just about to clarify the plot of DxD when a cold voice interrupted my thoughts. Following the voice, I saw Evelyn, dressed as a maid, approaching me. She spoke softly and respectfully. His Majesty Surzex invites you to the palace. Please follow me. Hearing this, I smiled knowingly, stood up, and followed her. Arriving at the Devil Palace, I saw that the leaders of the 3 factions, as well as Odin, were all present. However, what surprised me was that Barakiel was also there. Kyoya, allow me to introduce you. This is one of our fallen angel cadres, and also Akino's father. He's temporarily serving as Odin's bodyguard for this occasion. Azazel smiled and gave me a brief introduction. Father-in-law. I then looked at Barakiel, greeting him neither humbly nor arrogantly. It's a pleasure to meet you for the first time, uncle. Barakiel remained stern-faced, looking me up and down. I didn't feel any dissatisfaction about this. After all, I knew this father-in-law of mine was strict and stern by nature, but also a doting father. After a long while, Barakil finally nodded, his voice filled with gratitude as he spoke. I heard from Azazel that Aquino has emerged from the shadows of her past. Thank you for your help. Because of Aquino's mother, I've always felt guilty towards her, afraid to face her. So, from now on, I'll have to entrust Aquino's care to you. Hearing his words, I understood. Barakil had acknowledged me as his son-in-law. Otherwise, with his severe daughter complex, how could he possibly entrust Aquino to a man building a harem? Thinking about the relationship between this father and daughter, my eyes flickered. After a moment's thought, I asked, Uncle, I wonder if Aunt Shuri's soul is damaged. If it's intact, perhaps I can resurrect her. Bang! My words struck the hearts of several people present like a heavy hammer. Kyoya, is that true? Can you really resurrect Shuri? Barakil was momentarily stunned, his eyes filled with excitement and panic, his voice trembling. Azazel also looked at me expectantly. After all, it was because of his orders back then that Barakil had to leave Aquino and her mother, which led to Shuri's death. Therefore, to this day, Azazel still felt guilty about it. When facing Aquino's sarcasm, he could only respond with a wry smile. Yes. If the soul isn't destroyed, I can easily resurrect Aunt Shuri. Hearing this, Barakil's eyes instantly brightened. However, his brow furrowed soon after, and he began to worry. But Shuri's soul is in the realm of the dead. Getting Shuri's soul back from the hands of Hades might be difficult. Everyone nodded upon hearing this. After all, Hades had always been hostile towards outside forces. Wanting to retrieve a soul from him would likely be difficult. Thinking about my terrifying strength, Odin couldn't help but click his tongue. Kyoya, don't tell me you're planning to raid the realm of the dead? That bastard is always up to something. He was involved in the terrorist attacks launched by the Chaos Brigade. He might even have secretly reached an agreement with Rizavim, planning to lift the seal on Samel and plot for Ophus's power. I looked at everyone and sneered coldly. The truth was far from simple. Hades would later even organize the Hades Alliance and launch terrifying activities like the Hades Incident. What? Is he insane? Odin roared furiously upon hearing this. Remember, Samel was known as the Dragon Eater, the nemesis of dragons. Back then, the gods paid an enormous price to seal him. Rise of him. When Cersex heard this name, he was also extremely shocked. After all, this guy was currently the strongest wanted devil in the underworld. As the strongest transcendent born from the original Mao Lucifer and the mother of devils Lilith, his ability was Sacred Gear Canceller. All sacred gear powers would be nullified by him. That was why Cersex had specifically chosen peerage members without sacred gears back then, precisely to counter him. Now, unexpectedly, Rizavim had secretly allied with Hades. This was truly a massive problem. Fortunately, Kyoya is on our side. Should I take this opportunity to just eliminate Hades? That should solve everything. I asked with a serious, thoughtful expression. Hearing my shocking statement, everyone present twitched their lips and fell silent. Kyoya, it's best not to kill him without concrete evidence. After all, if Hades dies, the realm of the dead will fall into chaos. Finally, Archangel Michael persuaded me with a wry smile. After hearing Michael's words, I abandoned the idea. Hades, as the god of the realm of the dead, governed its operation. After humans died, their souls entered the realm of the dead, awaiting reincarnation or lingering. If Kyoya really killed Hades, not only would the realm of the dead fall into chaos, but the entire human world would descend into anarchy. Since that's the case, I'll let him off for now. But he definitely won't escape a good beating. I grinned, revealing a wicked smile. If Hades wasn't still useful, I would definitely have killed him. Looks like Hades is really in for a tragedy. Glancing at my strange expression, Azazel couldn't help but shiver, remarking inwardly. Chapter 153, The Arrival of the Evil God Loki, the God-Devouring Wolf, Fenrir. Uncle, now that Aunt Shuri can be resurrected, Aquino probably won't resent you anymore. You should go visit her sometime. I looked at Barakil and sincerely reminded him. Yes. I understand. The usually stern Barakiel showed a rare, joyful smile. Congratulations on the family reconciliation, Barakiel. But for now, we should prioritize signing the peace treaty. Odin said, looking at the pre-drafted agreement, ready to sign the peace treaty between the Norse and the three biblical factions. Boom! Suddenly, the entire Devil Palace violently shook, accompanied by a deafening roar. A figure appeared in the sky above the palace. He wore ornate, pale white long robes, had non-mainstream blue long hair, and radiated intense hostility. Loki, do you know what you're doing? Return to Asgard immediately, and I'll overlook this matter. Odin shouted, seeing the newcomer. That's right, the one attacking was Loki, the evil god of Norse mythology. As a supporter of Ragnarok, he was extremely dissatisfied with Odin's interactions with other pantheons and constantly sought to trigger Ragnarok. When Odin returned to Asgard last time and proposed signing a peace treaty with the three biblical factions, Loki was furious and had a huge argument with Odin. After Odin left Asgard, just like in the original story, Loki openly attacked to disrupt the peace talks. Therefore, the moment Odin saw Loki, he guessed his objective. Although Odin had the power to deal with Loki, he didn't want to kill him because Loki held a trump card that Odin feared. Fenrir, the god-devouring wolf. A monster among the top 10 strongest beings in the world, capable of even rivaling the two heavenly dragons in their prime. With Fenrir as his backing, Loki had enough strength to trigger Ragnarok. Even within Asgard, Loki had constantly launched attacks against Odin and even secretly ambushed other pantheons. Odin could only endure the urge to eliminate him. It wasn't that Odin lacked the strength, he just didn't dare to actually kill Loki. The reason was simple. Loki was the only one who could control Fenrir. Once Loki was killed, the seal on Fenrir would be broken, Ragnarok would descend, and Asgard would face annihilation. This created a vicious cycle. Odin desperately wanted to kill Loki but couldn't because of Fenrir. Hearing Odin's warning, Loki's face turned sinister, his eyes radiating thick killing intent. Humph. Odin, as the chief god of Asgard, you associate with other pantheons and are even signing some ridiculous peace treaty. You're an utter disgrace to the Norse pantheon. You are the shame of Asgard. I will kill you here, become the new chief god of Asgard, and initiate Ragnarok. Odin looked helpless and could only offer a final, painstaking warning. Loki, have you truly gone mad? Facing the powerhouses of the three factions. Loki, hearing this, acted as if he hadn't heard anything, his tone dismissive. Just a bunch of weaklings huddling together for warmth. Besides, do you think I don't have a trump card? Come forth, my sons. Saying this, a blue light shone from Loki's hand and shot towards the sky. Whoosh! Accompanied by the dazzling glow, several magic circles suddenly appeared in the sky. Following that, 6 giant figures emerged from within. The first thing everyone saw were 3 colossal serpents, among them Midgardsormr, one of the 5 dragon kings. However, judging by their size and aura, the other 2 were likely mass-produced, inferior replicas. But what caught everyone's attention even more were the 3 giant wolves below the serpents. Looking at their enormous bodies and the horns on their backs, they were Fenrir, the god-devouring wolf, and its offspring, the demonic wolves Skoll and Hati. Seeing Fenrir, Odin's eyes widened instantly, filled with disbelief. The god-devouring demon wolf Fenrir. Loki, you really brought it here too. Witnessing this scene, Sursex and the others turned solemn, while also feeling somewhat speechless internally. Good grief, why do these rebellious attacks keep happening one after another? Fallen Angel Rebellion, Chaos Brigade Attack, Devil Civil War, Old Satan faction allied with Chaos Brigade Attack, and now even Asgard has a rebellion. What is wrong with this world? Are they all bored with nothing better to do than launch terrorist attacks? Can't there be a little more love? Kyoya. Immediately, Sursex and the others looked towards me, asking somewhat awkwardly. Although they could likely defeat Loki, Fenrir was indeed difficult to handle. After all, this was the infamous god-devouring demon wolf Fenrir, a monster ranked among the top 10 in the world. Its fangs were the most terrifying aspect, possessing a god-devouring attribute that could ignore almost all defenses. Even gods, once pierced by its fangs, would suffer grievous injuries, if not death. Therefore, even if they could subdue Fenrir, they might pay a heavy price. That was why they had no choice but to ask Kyoya for help. No problem. You guys and Odin just set up a barrier around the area. Leave the rest to me, I said, looking intently at Fenrir, a slight smile on my lips. Then we'll leave it to you, Kyoya. Subsequently, Surzex and the others dispersed, focusing all their efforts on constructing a sturdy barrier. I know you, Hibari Kyoya. I heard you've been causing quite a stir lately. But don't think you can act high and mighty before me, Loki said, his face gloomy upon seeing this. Tisk, bringing a few pets along makes you act all arrogant? Cut the crap and prepare to die. Towards Loki's warning, I paid no attention. What I cared about was the task associated with Fenrir. Sign-in character, Fenrir, task grade, purple, task condition, kill. Sign-in character, Loki, task grade, black, task condition, kill. As expected for Fenrir, a being comparable to the two heavenly dragons, having a purple grade task is reasonable. At this moment, I also felt slightly excited. After all, it had been a while since I'd received a purple grade task. Chapter 154, Heaven-Tearing Claw revealed, Loki's brutal end. Tear him apart. As Loki's command echoed, the three mass-produced Midgardstorm roared and lunged first. However, I simply bound them tightly with the chains of heaven. Without a moment's hesitation, I drew Excalibur and, quick as lightning, appeared before the Midgardstorm. Raising the holy sword high, I unleashed a point-blank light cannon. Boom! In a flash, accompanied by a terrifying explosion, a pillar of golden light slammed directly onto the barrier, obliterating everything in its path, reducing it all to ash. The three Midgardstorm, their entire bodies pierced through, didn't even have time to let out cries of agony before collapsing lifelessly to the ground. Witnessing this scene, Loki's face turned ashen. Bastard! He clenched his fists, barely suppressing his rage. Fenrir, rip him to shreds! Loki roared. Saying this, Loki summoned magic circles, unleashing consecutive barrages of blue arrow rain, blasting relentlessly towards me on the ground. Boom! 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 Instantly, flames surged, and explosions echoed continuously. Towards Loki's insignificant attacks, my physically formidable body didn't even bother dodging or weaving. I allowed those attacks sufficient to heavily injure or even kill Malklass beings to continuously bombard my body. Using the cover of smoke, Fenrir, the god-devouring wolf, also launched its attack. Its figure transformed into an afterimage, rushing towards me. Its speed was so incredible that the others could only faintly capture a trace of green light. However, regardless of Fenrir's astonishing speed, I could still pinpoint its location accurately. Clang! A shower of sparks scattered. Fenrir's god-devouring fangs were firmly blocked by Excalibur in my hand. Although Fenrir, the god-devouring wolf, was ranked among the top 10 in the world due to Loki's restraints, it could only exert power at the peak Mao level. Therefore, even with the god-devouring attribute, it struggled to bite through Excalibur. It only managed to leave a few shallow bite marks on the holy sword. What? Witnessing this scene, Loki paled in shock. He hadn't expected Fenrir's fangs to be blocked. As a long-established evil god, after recovering slightly, he immediately took action. Skull! Hattie! Quickly assist your father. Bite that damned brat to death. Hearing Loki's command, the two smaller demon wolves howled, then leaped up, pouncing fiercely towards me. Seeing this situation, I paid no attention to the attacks of the two smaller demon wolves. The next moment, the originally crimson sky was dyed gold. Golden ripples covered the entire sky above the palace. Gate of Babylon. Whoosh! 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 The sound of tearing air echoed continuously. Just as the two smaller demon wolves launched their attack, countless noble phantasms rained down. Each ornate treasure contained terrifying destructive power, instantly turning them into pincushions. Oh woo woo! For a moment, the miserable howls of Fenrir's two children echoed within the barrier space. However, even so, the two demon wolves still clung to life, which surprised me slightly. Although I was countering Fenrir, the power of the Gate of Babylon wasn't fully unleashed, but I didn't expect the two cubs to survive. Looks like they inherited Fenrir's magic resistance. Then, the corners of my mouth curled into an arc. Magic power surged within me, and the golden light in the sky became even more dazzling. The terrifying magic power even distorted the atmosphere. The onslaught and power of the Gate of Babylon instantly escalated, piercing down fiercely. In an instant, the terrifying noble phantasms were like blades from hell, threatening to destroy everything. In a flash, blood splattered. The already heavily injured two demon wolves could no longer hold on and were directly blasted into a bloody mist. Gulp! Staring blankly at this scene. The intense visual impact left Loki completely dumbfounded. Even though the previous assault wasn't aimed at him, he could still feel the intense aura of death. This couldn't help but make cold sweat trickle down his back. Damn it, how can he be so strong? At this point, Loki began to regret attacking the underworld. Although Loki still had Fenrir, he didn't dare remove the restraints on Fenrir. Because Fenrir was inherently ferocious and savage, even he might be bitten to death by Fenrir if its nature was unleashed. Just as Loki was still contemplating, the magic power within me suddenly surged again, sending Fenrir flying with a single sword strike. Then I looked at Loki, my tone playful. I've heard that Fenrir is called the god-slaying demon wolf. It just so happens that I also have a god-slaying weapon, so enjoy it, Loki. Next, I sheathed Excalibur, and directly used the power of the heaven-tearing claw. My right hand transformed into a black claw, wreathed in surging magic power. What ability is this now? Serzex, Azazel, and the others looked at me curiously. The sheer power radiating from the heaven-tearing claw on my right hand caused even the distant spectators' hearts to pound with fear. I sense a faint divine aura. No, wait, that's a god-slaying aura? Instantly, Azazel perceived its essence and couldn't help but exclaim. Hearing this, Odin and the others were already too shocked to speak. My trump cards were endless, one never knew the depths of my power. This. What kind of sacred gear is this? Why does it have a god-slaying aura? Loki was terrified, no longer showing his earlier arrogance. He regretted not heeding Odin's warning. Faced with the threat of death, he only wanted to escape from here as quickly as possible. Just as Loki was about to have Fenrir shatter the barrier so he could flee, my attack had already launched. Slash! The next second, blood splattered. I swung down my right hand's heaven-tearing claw. Loki's body, like paper, was torn in half and fell to the ground. So weak. I looked at the bisected Loki, my tone indifferent. I already warned you. Why didn't you listen? Odin looked at Loki's corpse and sighed helplessly. Odin wasn't surprised that I had killed Loki instantly. Any of the faction leaders present could kill Loki, let alone me, someone capable of challenging the Great Red. And as Loki's body was torn in half, dying miserably. Ding! Congratulations, host, for completing the sign-in task. Received 1 black grade gift bag. The system's voice also sounded. Chapter 155, Tearing Fenrir Apart, Obtaining an Overpowered Bug Skill. After the system notification sounded, I turned my head to look at Fenrir. Now, it was the only one left. Oh woo woo. At this moment, Fenrir, the god-devouring wolf, stared at me with anger and astonishment in its eyes, but it didn't attack again. After all, that terrifying blow I delivered earlier, the overwhelming sense of death it brought, made its limbs involuntarily start to retreat slowly. Seeing this, I raised an eyebrow, my tone extremely playful. Scared now? But I won't let you off just like that. Next, I repeated my previous tactic. Countless strands of black magic power wrapped around its body. An invisible, terrifying pressure surged towards Fenrir. Instantly, Fenrir felt a chill run down its spine, even losing the courage to fight. However, when it retreated to the edge of the barrier and found there was nowhere left to run, its eyes turned savage. Purple magic power gathered in its maw, preparing for a desperate, final struggle. Facing Fenrir's full power attack, I didn't flinch. I waved my hand dismissively. Boom! The entire ground fractured as if severed, triggering an earthquake. Scars thousands of meters long were left across the crimson sky. Along with Fenrir. It was directly torn to shreds by my casual strike. Hearing Fenrir's miserable howl, everyone present felt their scalps tingle. Odin stared, dumbfounded. He couldn't have imagined that Fenrir, in its fully unleashed state, would be killed by my casual blow. Witnessing this scene gave him a bone-chilling feeling. The next moment. Ding! Congratulations, host, for killing Fenrir. Obtained 1 purple grade gift bag. When the system's voice sounded again, it finally put my mind at ease. Looking at Fenrir's scattered remains, I then retracted the Heaven-Tearing Claw. Just relying on transcendent strength, a full power, Heaven-Tearing Claw, was enough to shred Fenrir. However, the magic power consumption was also immense. At full strength, I could probably only use it 5 or 6 times before depleting my magic reserves. But in terms of power, the unenchanted, Heaven-Tearing Claw, when used for area attacks, was even slightly stronger than the enhanced Excalibur. I just wonder if it could easily break through the defenses of incredibly tough dragons like the 2 heavenly dragons. After all, the 2 heavenly dragons weren't just offensively powerful, their defenses were astonishing. In comparison, Fenrir's defense was much weaker. I was very satisfied with the power of the Heaven-Tearing Claw. Aside from the Azure Dragon's power, my strongest single-target attack was now the enhanced Excalibur, while the Heaven-Tearing Claw was suitable for close combat or group fights. Of course, excluding certain bug-like abilities. Hiss! A collective sharp intake of breath echoed within the barrier. Even Fenrir was easily eliminated. Kyoya, you're monstrously strong. Odin's face was filled with amazement, his voice tinged with awe. He had thought Fenrir's savagery was terrifying enough, but compared to me, it was practically nothing. Surzex and the others also felt their scalps tingle. Although they knew I could handle Fenrir, they hadn't expected it to be so simple and brutal. As for Barakiel, he was beaming with pride at this moment, increasingly satisfied with me, his son-in-law. Next, Odin and the others used their power to restore everything within the barrier to its original state before dispelling it. However, the next moment, Odin and Azazel actually started arguing over Fenrir's corpse. As for why? Undoubtedly, it was because of Fenrir's god-devouring fangs. Remember, Fenrir was called the god-devouring wolf precisely because of those fangs. You fallen scum! Fenrir is part of Asgard. Are you trying to steal something that belongs to Asgard? Arriving beside Fenrir's corpse, Odin stared deadly at Azazel, his tone warning. Humph, backwoods old geezer, Fenrir attacked us. Now that it's been killed by Kyoya, it should belong to us as an apology gift. Towards Odin's warning, Azazel didn't care at all, still maintaining his playful demeanor. Hearing Azazel's shameless words, Odin was so angry he wanted to pull out Gungnir and fight Azazel right then and there. However, ultimately, after Azazel promised to take him to the human world, to the entertainment district, for a full relaxation package experience, Odin generously gave Fenrir's corpse to him. Witnessing this, everyone, including myself, was utterly speechless, their mouths twitching. Good grief, these two really are birds of a feather. Afterward, the group naturally didn't argue further and proceeded to sign the peace treaty between the Norse and the 3 biblical factions. At the same time, Barakiel and I went to the Gremory territory together. However, when Akino Himajima saw Barakiel, her face instantly darkened, and she turned to leave. Fortunately, after my explanation and Barakiel's continuous pleading, Akino finally agreed to receive Barakiel, her expression softening slightly. Next, I recounted the incident where Loki attacked the underworld, disrupted the peace talks, and was ultimately killed by me. Subsequently, I returned to my room. After lying down on the bed, I opened the 2 sign-in gift bags. Ding! Congratulations, host, for opening the purple grade sign-in gift bag. Obtained, time skip. When I opened the purple grade gift bag, seeing the system's reward, I couldn't help but be shocked, excitedly jumping up. Holy crap! I actually got this bug-like skill. Time skip was Hit's signature technique from the Dragon Ball world. When Hit first demonstrated time skip, it was really baffling. However, time skip couldn't randomly jump through time, that was an ability only gods possessed. The essence of time skip was to use ki to create a perfect replica of oneself while hiding one's true body elsewhere. It was akin to a brief parallel timeline, making it extremely elusive. Fighters relying on sensing ki would be at a huge disadvantage. Therefore, currently, there were only two effective ways to counter time skip. One was to successfully predict my movements, anticipating them in advance. Only then could one neutralize the attacks of time skip. The second method was simpler and more brutal, unless the opponent's strength far surpassed mine, directly shattering the parallel timeline created by time skip with sheer power. However, compared to the first method, the second was almost impossible. Given my current strength, it was hard to find beings with such power. Immediately, I claimed and learned time skip. Chapter 156, Invading the Realm of the Dead, Confronting Hades. After learning time skip, I began experimenting. However, even exerting my maximum effort, the duration I could skip was barely a second. It became clear that mastering this skill would be incredibly difficult. Not bad at all. Might as well open the last black grade gift bag while I'm at it, I remarked with a satisfied smile. Ding! Congratulations, host, for opening the black grade sign-in gift bag. Obtained, Authority, Divine Confusion. Divine Confusion, the authority belonging to Salvatore Doni, known as the King of Swords, from the world of Campione. This authority, usurped from the wine god, Dionysus, can create a zone where magic, spells, and even other authorities run wild and out of control. Its effect is potent enough to make even Doni's own authorities go berserk. This authority is a frightening trump card. Using it forces the opponent into a pure melee battle, arguably the ultimate move for close-quarters combat. Activating the full authority requires significant preparation time, but a smaller-scale effect can be achieved with shorter preparation. Divine Confusion. It seems somewhat similar to my own magic power erasure. However, given my current physical strength, I have a greater advantage in close combat. I stroked my chin, murmuring softly. The next day, to resurrect Akino's mother as soon as possible, I said goodbye to the girls early in the morning and headed to Hell. Passing through Hell, I arrived at the realm of the dead. As soon as I arrived at the gates, I was greeted by the realm of the dead's enthusiastic welcome, surrounded by a throng of grim reapers. Well, isn't it Habari Kyoya, the one who's been stirring up so much trouble lately? What business brings you here? A grim voice echoed. Following that, a skeleton wearing a crown slowly emerged from the realm of the dead gates, green flames flickering in its eye sockets. This was Hades, god of the dead. Hades, cut the crap. I'm here to retrieve a soul. It'd be best if you hand it over obediently. Seeing Hades, a playful smirk formed on my lips. Humph. You want to cause trouble in my home? Do you think a little threat will make me yield? How naive. Hades snorted coldly upon hearing my words. Simultaneously, Hades unleashed a terrible aura. As a major god-level being, ranked among the top 10 in the world, his strength was certainly not inferior to that of the heavenly dragons. Sign-in character discovered, Hades, god of the realm of the dead, task grade, purple, task condition, kill. Hearing the notification, I couldn't help but smile with delight. The opportunity to eliminate Hades? I couldn't ask for more. In that case, you can die. The next moment, purple rings appeared in my eyes as I activated the Rinnegan. Blue skeletal structures slowly crisscrossed, soon forming 100-meter-tall Susanoo. All of you, attack. Sensing its power, Hades glanced at me hiding within Susanoo and waved his skeletal staff. As Hades' command fell, countless grim reapers brandished their weapons in unison, launching a frenzied assault on me. However, facing these pathetic attacks from the grim reapers, they weren't even worth my attention. I remained expressionless, allowing them to attack, unwilling to casually slaughter them. After all, retrieving Shuri Himajima's soul wasn't my only objective this time. It was also freeing Vile Leviathan and Benia. And that lowly Grim Reaper, Benia, her parents were ultimate-class Grim Reapers in the realm of the dead. Many Grim Reapers were her friends and relatives, which was why I refrained from a massacre. Besides, the realm of the dead served as the place for human souls after death, awaiting reincarnation or lingering. If I slaughtered the Grim Reapers, it would likely cause significant problems in the human world. Therefore, I used Susanoo for defense, employing the abilities of the 6 paths of the Rinnegan to restrain the attacking Grim Reapers. Otherwise, with their strength, if I exerted even slight effort, these Grim Reapers wouldn't stand a chance of survival. Let's see how long you can last. Unless your magic power is inexhaustible, you'll eventually be overwhelmed by the realm of the dead army. Although Hades felt increasingly uneasy, his tone remained grim and cold. Facing the attacks of countless Grim Reapers, I remained completely at ease. Moreover, his strange abilities were unheard of. Watching the Grim Reapers being inexplicably sent flying, Hades scanned the surroundings but still found no trace of any other enemies. Fortunately, the realm of the dead army is continuously draining his magic power, forcing him to reveal all his strange abilities. Otherwise, if he were to fight me himself, the outcome would be uncertain. Aren't you the wielder of the sword of promised victory? Where is your holy sword? At this moment, seeing that I had likely expended considerable energy, Hades ordered the Grim Reapers to retreat, his tone playful. Against someone of your level, I don't plan on using it, I replied calmly, meeting Hades' gaze with arrogance. Wielding his Grim Reaper staff, Hades swiftly attacked me, the staff emanating a sinister and eerie aura. Clang! However, that horrifying attack, capable of annihilating souls, was easily blocked by my single hand. I had directly used the Heaven-Tearing Claw. Its intimidating power seized Hades' staff. Is this the extent of your power? I looked at the shocked and trembling Hades, my expression pitying. And no. Impossible. Hades immediately abandoned his staff and retreated, looking at me warily. After being worn down by the realm of the dead army for so long, how is his magic power still so abundant? And that claw on his hand, the horrible aura and power it radiates makes my instincts scream at me to get away from it. That weapon on your hand. Why does it have the same god-slaying aura as Fenrir? After carefully sensing it, Hades exclaimed in terror. Let me tell you the truth. The weapon in my hand possesses god-slaying power. Both Loki and Fenrir died under its claws. And you will be the third. I looked at the panicked Hades, revealing a frightening piece of news. What? Hearing this, Hades could no longer suppress the fear in his heart, his body trembling violently. Fenrir was a powerhouse on the same level as him, perhaps even stronger. Yet, he was killed. At this moment. That feeling of impending death made him realize with utmost clarity the insurmountable gap between himself and this monster. Chapter 157, A Horrifying Reward, Needing Graphia. Wait. Hibari Kyoya. Didn't you want a soul? I'll give it to you. At this moment, Hades was completely panicked. Now that Loki and Fenrir had been dealt with by Kyoya, he, the god of the realm of the dead, was no match for him. Therefore, to survive, Hades immediately admitted defeat and surrendered. Seeing Hades begging for mercy, I narrowed my eyes and spoke coldly, giving up just because you can't win? Nice try. Saying this, the Heaven-Tearing Claw extended, covering my entire arm, flickering with purple-black magic power. Damn it! Hibari Kyoya, must you push this to mutual destruction? Seeing this, Hades roared furiously. Hearing this, I scoffed. With just you? Do you have what it takes? My taunting words were like salt on a wound for Hades. He responded with a sinister tone. Fine. I'll grant your wish. With that, Hades took out his weapons, the Helm of Darkness and the Scythe of Death. The moment he donned the Helm of Darkness, Hades' figure vanished from my sight. Seeing Hades turn invisible, I felt a flicker of curiosity, but then spoke slowly. You think going invisible means I can't find you? Naive. Finally, I slowly raised my hand. A frightening magic power capable of extinguishing all existence surged forth. Even the space within the realm of the dead began to twist and deform under this immense magic power. The horrible magic power almost materialized. Even the previously invisible Hades reappeared at this moment. All the grim reapers in the realm of the dead, including Hades himself, trembled under this pressure. Suddenly, the recovered Hades gritted his teeth and launched an attack. Because he knew, if he didn't act now, once I fully unleashed my power, he would be the one to die. However, facing Hades' scythe of death attack, a cold smile appeared on my face. The next moment, I raised the heaven-tearing claw high and slashed several times. The purple-black slashes, with their overwhelming destructive power, directly shattered Hades' scythe of death. Even Hades himself narrowly avoided the direct hit of the heaven-tearing claw. Despite this, he still suffered severe trauma. Crack! One slash directly shattered his arm into fragments. Aha! Although Hades' true form was a skeleton and felt no pain from physical attacks, the god-slaying power carried by my heaven-tearing claw still made him scream in agony. Witnessing this scene, the eyes of the Grim Reapers filled with utter horror. Seeing Hades severely injured and his power declining, I immediately used Mental Out to forcibly extract information about the Hades Alliance and the Chaos Brigade. After obtaining the evidence, I showed no mercy and directly killed Hades. After all, this guy was a menace and would later even be captured by an otherworldly evil god, becoming a test subject. Might as well give him a quick in now. Ding! Congratulations, host, for killing Hades, god of the realm of the dead. Obtained 1 purple grade sign-in gift bag. However, to maintain the normal order of the realm of the dead, I supported Benia's father, the ultimate class Grim Reaper Orcus, to take charge, becoming the new god of the realm of the dead. After resolving the matters, I took Shuri Himajima's soul and returned to the Gremri territory. Fearing the jealousy of the girls at home, I didn't bring Benia and Ingviled Leviathan back this time. Upon seeing Shuri Himajima's soul, Barakil, a grown man, couldn't help but shed tears, crying like a child. As for Azazel, Cerzex, Odin, and the others, after hearing about my actions, they were utterly speechless. Just moments ago, I had said I would spare Hades' life. Yet, the moment I got my hands on evidence of his collusion, I eliminated him without hesitation. Good grief! Fortunately, I had only killed Hades, and the order of the realm of the dead remained stable. More importantly, I had obtained a series of evidence and intelligence regarding the Hades Alliance and the Chaos Brigade. Because of this, the leaders of the 4 factions, Cerzex, Azazel, Michael, and Odin, prepared to discuss how to resolve the Hades Alliance issue. Next, I repaired and nourished Shuri Himajima's soul. As for the subsequent resurrection of Shuri, I left it to Barakil and Azazel. After all, resurrecting a human with an intact soul was an easy task for Azazel, the Governor-General of the Fallen Angels. Exiting the conference room, I checked my rewards as I walked. Ding! Purple grade sign-in gift bag opened successfully. Congratulations, host, for obtaining the gift, Sunwheel Wings of Fire and Flames, but... The system's voice sounded, making me raise an eyebrow. Is this a gift from the world of Little Garden? This gift came from the great sage who leaves heaven in disarray, Rock Demon King. Her strength reached the peak of 3 digits. If converted to the DxD world, her strength was comparable to Great Red. And the scorching flames of the Golden Wing Flames, Sunwheel Wings of Fire and Flames, possessed the highest ranking gift capable of countering gods and dragons. Once touched, not even the soul would remain. Its frightening degree far surpassed the god-slaying attribute of the heaven-tearing claw, and it also came with dragon-slaying properties. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I was very satisfied with this reward. I didn't even notice the figure walking towards me until I bumped into her, only then reacting. Lord Kyoya. Please watch where you're going. Hearing the voice, I looked up, my pupils constricting. Standing before me was a graceful woman. She had smooth, silver long hair, fair skin, slender eyebrows, and eyes as bright as rubies, appearing elegant and noble. Graphia. Seeing the girl's face, I couldn't help but exclaim. I hadn't expected that after being in the realm of the dead for so long, I would unexpectedly encounter the renowned silver-haired Queen of Annihilation. Ding! Sign-in character discovered, Graphia Lucifuge, task grade, black, task condition, recruit her as headmaid. This task seems a bit. For a moment, I really didn't know how to begin. It's a pleasure to meet you for the first time, Lord Kyoya. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. Seeing me staring blankly, Graphia spoke again. Graphia, would you like to be my headmaid? Pushing aside all reservations, I decided to be direct. Exclamation point. Graphia's eyes widened in astonishment, staring at me incredulously. After a long pause, she finally asked slowly. Lord Kyoya, may I ask why you wish for me to become your headmaid? Why? Because I think you're perfectly suited to be a maid. After thinking for a moment, I added. But most importantly, I've taken a liking to you. Graphia. Even Graphia, with her cold and serious personality, couldn't help but twitch her lips upon hearing my words. I see. Since it is Lord Kyoya's request, I accept. However, ultimately, Graphia nodded with a serious expression. Ding! Congratulations, host, for completing the sign-in task. Obtained 1 black grade sign-in gift bag. Chapter 158, Harem Fever Pitch, ready to make heirs at the drop of a hat. After parting ways with Graphia, I wasted no time finding Akino and sharing the great news about resurrecting her mother. Rias and the others offered their congratulations upon hearing the news, but Akino was so overcome with emotion that tears welled up in her eyes. That evening, Akino, dressed in a long black gown that elegantly revealed her smooth, slender legs, approached me, saying she wanted to offer a reward. Looking at Akino's blushing face and alluring charm, I couldn't resist. Ignoring the gazes of the others, I grabbed Akino's arm. Come on, I said, pulling her along. Let's go to my room and have a proper discussion about this reward. Era, you naughty boy, saying such things in front of everyone, Akino teased, though she obediently followed me. That night, facing Akino's challenge, I naturally gave her a thorough lesson, leaving her utterly spent and submissive. Still think you can take me on? Looking at the sleeping Akino, I chuckled triumphantly. Before drifting off, I decided to open the system reward I'd received earlier. Ding! Black grade sign-in gift bag opened successfully. Congratulations, host, for obtaining Reincarnation Card X10. Are these any different from the Devil's Evil pieces used for reincarnating devils? Ding! The Reincarnation Card operates on a similar principle to evil pieces, but its effects differ. When a reincarnation card is used, even an ordinary individual will experience a significant power increase, amplified by the host's immense strength. Additionally, the vassal has a chance to inherit some of the host's abilities. Furthermore, as the host's power grows, the vassal's strength will also increase proportionally. Hearing the system's explanation, I pondered. I see. It functions somewhat like the gifts from Mondaiji World, just perhaps on a lower tier. Still, it's definitely a useful item. Maybe I can recruit a few female vassals later. Afterward, holding Akino close, I slowly closed my eyes and drifted into sleep. The next morning, seeing my refreshed expression and Akino's rosy complexion beside me, the other girls shot us resentful looks. All except for Kuroka, who was lounging seductively on the sofa, a cunning glint flickering in her eyes. Kuroka recalled asking me to help her conceive a powerful dragon baby last time. Ever since then, Kaneko had been constantly wary of her sister. But lately, Kaneko seemed to have relaxed her guard. Coupled with the subtle encouragement from the other girls, Kuroka thought, perhaps it was time to make her move. Thinking of this, Kuroka felt a warm sense of satisfaction. Not long after, with all matters in the underworld concluded, everyone prepared to return to the human world. However, Lady Graphia? And Lady Tiamat? Rias and the others stared, wide-eyed and astonished, at Graphia, inexplicably dressed in a maid outfit, and Tiamat, standing beside her in human form. From now on, Graphia and Tiamat are part of our family too. And Graphia here is our new head maid. Surprise! I grinned, thoroughly pleased with myself. Kyoya, you. Rhea started, looking at the mischievous glint in my eyes. Both she and Sona felt their lips twitch, rendered momentarily speechless. Although they knew my philandering nature, they hadn't imagined I'd be this audacious, abducting Graphia, the silver-haired queen of annihilation herself. And even Tiamat, one of the 5 great dragon kings. TCH Playboy. Irina muttered under her breath, shooting me a sideways look. Even the easily jealous Asia puffed up her cheeks, staring at me intently. Master, everyone, the train has arrived. We should board now. Graphia interjected, her voice retaining its usual cool composure. At her prompt, everyone began boarding the dimensional train bound for the human world. Aboard the dimensional train, the group chatted happily about their experiences in the underworld. Meanwhile, I held Ophis close, whispering secrets in her ear. The other girls occasionally shot glances our way, tinged with jealousy, but didn't make a big deal of it. Initially, Rias and the others were a bit reserved around Ophis. However, once they discovered that the seemingly aloof dragon god had the personality of an innocent child, they instinctively started doting on her. Asia, especially, with her high affinity for dragonkind, bonded quickly with Ophis, becoming fast friends. I didn't expect Ophis, the infinite dragon god, to be here as well, Tiamat remarked, blinking as she looked curiously at Ophis. I await Kyoya's defeat of the Red One, Ophis stated faintly, pressing closer into my embrace. I also await union with Kyoya to conceive the strongest offspring. Hearing this, Tiamat was taken aback. As expected of Kyoya, even the infinite dragon god was captivated by that powerful dragon phantom. Then Tiamat happily rubbed her belly. Based on their conversation, Ophis hadn't united with Kyoya yet. She was already a step ahead. Before anyone else could react to Ophis's statement, Zenobia jumped in. To think even Ophis is a rival too. Kyoya, we'll have to redouble our efforts when we get back. Hey! Zenobia, cool it. Irina groaned, facepalming as she saw the determined glint in Zenovia's eyes. She quickly tried to dissuade her. However, as if a switch had been flipped, everyone else also started to chime in. I wonder if my efforts last night were successful, Akino Himajima said with a playful smile, her face slightly flushed. But I'm still. Sona's face turned bright red, but she couldn't finish her sentence. Oni-sama. I can too. Asia rushed over, grabbing my hand and speaking almost incoherently. Seeing this group of girls acting like love-struck fools, the others were stunned. Kiba Yuto, as usual, just smiled gently, quietly watching the scene unfold. Gasper, meanwhile, had retreated as far as possible, muttering, so scary. Everyone, you mustn't be so impulsive about this. You're still students. At this moment, Graphia glared at the girls sharply. Faced with the stern presence of the silver-haired queen of annihilation, the girls immediately quieted down, daring not to argue further. Then, does that mean Lady Graphia can have children with Kyoya? After all, you're his wife too. Just as things seemed to have calmed down, Zenobia, completely oblivious, shattered the peace with a single sentence. Exclamation point. At Zenovia's question, everyone turned to stare at Graphia, their expressions ranging from curious to downright mischievous. Faced with this sudden scrutiny, even the perpetually composed Graphia couldn't prevent a faint blush from dusting her cheeks, leaving her momentarily flustered. Chapter 159, Gabriel's Arrival, Kuroka's Night Attack, The Noble Phantasm Avalon. Cough. Zenovia's bombshell nearly made me choke, my expression twitching. Seeing Graphia blush and fall silent, I quickly stepped in to smooth things over, finally calming the dispute. Before long, everyone boarded the dimensional train back to the human world, resuming their peaceful, leisurely daily lives. It's worth mentioning that a few days after returning to the human world, someone I had often thought about suddenly appeared before me. Lord Kyoya. Long time no see. The moment she saw me, she immediately hugged me, her words filled with longing. Thump. I was completely caught off guard by Gabriel's flying tackle, and the subsequent impact left me dazed. For a moment, I felt like I was suffocating. After all, Gabriel possessed quite the heavenly pair. This face washing was too stimulating. Even so, I was reluctant to push Gabriel away. Opportunities like this didn't come often. It wasn't until I could barely breathe that I finally managed to speak. "Gabriel, thank you for the warm welcome. But could you perhaps let go now? I'm having a little trouble breathing." Hearing my words, Gabriel finally noticed the situation. Her innocent, pretty face turned bright red, and she quickly released me. Once my complexion returned to normal, I nodded slightly and said with a smile, "Gabriel, I thought you had forgotten me. I even specifically asked Michael to pass along a message last time." Gabriel clasped her hands tightly in front of her chest, her tone urgent but sincere. "Lord Kyoya, because Heaven's system has restarted, there are many matters requiring my attention. That's why I couldn't come down to the human world to see you sooner." Gabriel looked at me guiltily, preparing to bow respectfully in apology. Facing Gabriel's unexpected apology, I quickly stopped her and said with a sheepish grin, Gabriel, you don't need to be formal. I was just kidding earlier. Why would I blame you? And you don't need to address me seriously either." "Okay." Hearing my words, Gabriel paused, then nodded with a gentle look in her eyes. Gently holding Gabriel's small hand, I smiled and asked, "Gabriel, do you have any other tasks this time?" Gabriel blinked her innocent eyes, looked at me, and said softly, "My mission this time is to become the health advisor at Kyoya's home. Therefore, please take care of me from now on." Hearing Gabriel say this, I froze. Health advisor? It seemed the task associated with Gabriel really was to bring her home as a health advisor. For this, I even joked with Holy-chan back then, asking if she could bestow Gabriel upon me. But I was met with Holy-chan's complaints and eye rolls, and ultimately, nothing came of it. He. It seems I was granted Gabriel after all. Holy-chan is quite the tsundere. In that case, Gabriel, please take care of me from now on. I wrapped my arm around Gabriel and said with a grin, "MMM." Facing my intimate action, Gabriel's face flushed slightly. Looking at the shy yet undeniably pure Gabriel, I felt my mouth go dry. Honestly, Gabriel, as the #1 beauty in heaven, was deeply coveted by numerous male gods and devils. Today, I finally understood this wasn't an exaggeration. However, I still suppressed the urge to forcefully kiss Gabriel, pushing down my desires. After all, if an angel harbored desire or evil thoughts, their white wings would flicker black and white. If they couldn't control themselves, they would become a fallen angel. Clearly, falling wasn't suitable for Gabriel. She was the purest of angels. It was best to preserve her golden wings. And I currently lacked the ability to prevent angels from falling. So, I planned to find a suitable time to take Gabriel to that special room so we could further connect and deepen our relationship. In the original story, to prevent the phenomenon of falling and promote angel reproduction, Michael had specially invented a room where angels and humans can freely engage in physical intimacy without the risk of falling. And during my time travel, I specifically asked Holy-chan to research this room for me. Well, although I was met with her deep disdain, for the sake of exploring the philosophical meaning of life, I was fearless. Ding! Congratulations, host, for completing the sign-in task. Obtained 1 black grade gift bag. The system's voice interrupted my future fantasies. Smiling, I released Gabriel and whispered, "Let's go home. I'll introduce you to everyone else there." Okay. Hearing this, Gabriel's eyes curved into crescent moons, her smile both adorable and innocent. Not long after, I returned home with Gabriel. Lady Gabriel. Initially, upon seeing Gabriel, the girls were somewhat shocked, but they quickly regained their composure. Their man had coveted Gabriel for a long time, they were already used to it. That evening, to celebrate Gabriel's arrival, we held a welcome banquet, a rare occurrence. For a time, the house was filled with laughter and cheer. However, amidst the festivities, Kuroka secretly began preparing to execute her plan. Because of the banquet, everyone slept late, which provided Kuroka with an opportunity. Waiting until all the girls were fast asleep, a smug smile spread across Kuroka's face, and then she quietly crept towards my room. At this moment, I was alone in my room. It wasn't that I didn't want to explore the meaning of life, it's just that my strength and physique were too overwhelming. The girls could barely keep up. In the end, after some discussion, they had decided to limit our activities. After all, they didn't possess my monstrous constitution. Besides, most of the time, several of them had to team up, otherwise, no one could withstand such intense battles alone. So, tonight, I.W. was destined to be alone. However, I wasn't actually asleep. Because I was full of energy and didn't feel tired, I seemed to be lying in bed, staring blankly at the ceiling. Ding! Black grade gift bag opened successfully. Congratulations, host, for obtaining Avalon X1. Isn't this the scabbard of Excalibur? My heart skipped a beat, a hint of surprise flashing in my eyes. In the world of Type Moon, Avalon was also known as the ever-distant Utopia. The scabbard's ability was immortality, possessing the power to heal the holder's injuries and halt aging. It ignored all magic and physical attacks, even reflecting attacks back and absolute defense. Even EA, the Sword of Rupture, an anti-world noble phantasm of EX rank, its full power attack wouldn't have any effect within Avalon's protective range. It was the ultimate defensive treasure. This scabbard is truly a formidable defensive weapon. And it paired perfectly with my Excalibur. I was extremely pleased. Chapter 160. Kuroka's Sneaky Snack. Just then, the sound of the room door opening echoed, and a figure slipped inside. I turned my head and saw that the newcomer was Kuroka. Remembering her previous requests, I immediately understood. Sneaking into my room alone late at night. Without another word, I leaped up and embraced Kuroka. The next morning, a few sharp rays of sunlight slowly filtered through the gaps in the curtains, illuminating the bedroom. Despite the bright sunlight hitting my face, I kept my eyes closed, still fast asleep, unwilling to wake up. Meanwhile, most of the girls were already awake and getting ready. After washing up and dressing, they headed to the kitchen to help Asia and the others prepare breakfast. Kaneko, having changed into her school uniform, went to her sister Kuroka's room to wake her for breakfast. However, after calling out several times without any response from the room, Kaneko grew suspicious and pushed the door open. The first thing she saw was Kuroka's bed, but her sister was nowhere in sight. When she noticed the bed was neatly made, as if no one had slept in it last night, her eyes flickered with doubt. Kuroka-ne? Where is she? Why isn't she in her room? I clearly saw One-chan return to her room yesterday. How could she not be here? Did she already get up? No. Something's not right. Suddenly, a bad premonition flashed through Kaneko's mind. Kaneko rushed to the bedside and touched the bedding. There was no warmth at all. If someone had gotten up in the morning, even if they made the bed, there would still be residual warmth. But this bedding was completely cold, showing no signs of anyone having slept there. This could only mean no one had slept here last night. But she had clearly seen her sister return to the room yesterday. At this realization, Kaneko's mind exploded. Her sister had been constantly pestering Kyoya, wanting to have his child. But because of Kaneko's interference, she had never succeeded. And her sister wasn't sleeping last night, sneaking out of her room. Could it be? Thinking of this, Kaneko quickly turned and ran towards Kyoya's room. In the living room, Rias and Akino were about to speak when they saw Kaneko rush past. Kaneko, what are you? Before they could finish their sentence, Kaneko had already vanished like a wisp of smoke. Rias watched Kaneko disappear, bewildered, then turned to Akino, puzzled. What's wrong with Kaneko? Why is she in such a hurry? Towards Rias's question, Akino simply shrugged, indicating she didn't know. Maybe she has something urgent to attend to. Hearing this, Rias nodded in agreement. A moment later, Kaneko arrived outside my room but hesitated, afraid to open the door. She suspected her sister Kuroka was likely inside, but a part of her still held onto a sliver of hope. Just as she was hesitating, unable to push the door open, a familiar voice completely shattered her illusions. Kuroka, wake up. Aren't you afraid Kaneko-chan will find out? We've already done the deed. I'm not afraid, Naya. Hearing the voices from inside, Kaneko's expression darkened. She violently kicked the door open with one foot. Kuroka-ne. You really are here. The next moment, Kaneko saw Kuroka nestled in my arms, her two black tails swaying intermittently. Oops. Busted, Naya. Kuroka-ne, how could you do this? Kaneko shouted, her face flushed red with anger. But Chiron, One-chan is already in heat. You can't bear to see me suffer, right, Naya? Besides, Chiron, you're still young. You haven't fully developed yet. Doing it now could be dangerous, Naya. Not only did Kuroka show no signs of panic, but she even hugged me possessively, putting on a self-righteous expression. Hearing this, Kaneko involuntarily looked down at her flat chest. Then she glanced at Kuroka's ample curves, pressed tightly against me. Kaneko felt a sting, as if being mocked. The next moment, Kaneko's face instantly turned pitch black, her eyes devoid of light. Hentai senpai. Pervert. Afterward, Kaneko cursed, her face flushed red, then glared fiercely at Kuroka before quickly running away. Seeing this, I could only sigh helplessly, then turned to look at Kuroka with a strange expression. Was that really necessary? Aren't you worried she'll be mad at you? Hearing my question, Kuroka licked her lips and replied charmingly, she's still growing. She can't do that kind of thing yet. So you can't make a move on Chiron, okay, Naya? Saying this, Kuroka looked at me seriously, afraid I would act impulsively. Towards Kuroka's reminder, I glanced at her and indicated that I was well aware and wouldn't make a move on Kaneko. However, I then spoke playfully, my tone meaningful. Never thought I'd get a lecture from you. How about we continue our discussion on the meaning of life tonight? Before long, I brought Kuroka to the living room, preparing to eat breakfast together. When everyone saw Kuroka, flushed and radiating a mature woman's charm, limping slightly, the girls all understood instantly. It turned out that Kuroka had sneakily sought me out last night. At this moment, Rias and Aquino finally understood why Kaneko had looked so agitated earlier. Looks like she was backstabbed by her own sister. Thinking of this, the two exchanged glances, trying hard to suppress their laughter. But out of consideration for Kaneko's feelings, they could only hold it in. As for the other girls who knew the inside story, they looked at Kuroka with strange expressions, their gazes sweeping up and down. This made the usually bold and seductive black cat feel a bit shy at this moment. Especially Kaneko, who glared resentfully at Kyoya and her sister Kuroka. She looked like an abandoned kitten. That wraps up this part of What If Sign-In System in High School DxD. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.